Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever time you may be watching this, and welcome to the video. I am Monotone Excitement, you can all call me Nick, and I am here today to introduce you to my team for the Rolling Tourney Draft League Season 3. If you don't know what any of this is, I can explain it really quickly. All this league is it's where me and 13 other coaches get together. We each draft 12 Pokemon, and then we go week by week pitting our Pokemon against their Pokemon, and we just see who can come out on top. So I am the coach of the Cold War Cryogonals, and I will be going through the mons that I picked, sort of describing them a bit, saying what they can do, what my plans for them are, and just what I'm trying to do. So right now my main goal for this season is I would like to make playoffs. We've had 2 seasons already, as you can tell. The first season I made it 7th out of 12, so that just outside of playoffs. And then in the second season I made it 10th out of 12, so I did much worse in the second season, but now we have 14 people and we have 8 playoff spots rather than 6. So hopefully that would mean I have a better chance at making playoffs. But I think with my new team and with sort of what I've learned from doing the last 2 seasons of Draft League plus other Draft Leagues that I've participated in, I think I can do a lot better. So now I'm just going to go through each Pokemon one by one. I'm going to show you what each Pokemon can do, and we're just going to go ahead and do that. So the first mon that I drafted to the team is Aegislash. If you know anything about Aegislash, then you know that in Gen 6, which was the generation this mod was introduced, and in Gen 7, this mod was an absolute beast. It was in the top of the leagues, it was in Ubers, which is the highest tier where it competes against actual legendary Pokemon, and it puts in tons of work. Recently in Gen 8 it's fallen because there have been some new counters added and different Pokemon put in, like Dragapult, but I still feel like, because now that we're doing a National Dex League, which means that all Pokemon are pretty much on the table, I feel like Aegislash will be able to put in a lot of work here. So Aegislash's main ability is its change form, which allows it to change between its shield form, which has high defense, and its blade form, which has high offense. So this can definitely be used both ways, where I can stay in my shield form in order to take hits, and then I'll swap to my blade form so I can do big damage. And because this mon has mixed offenses, it allows for a lot of options when it comes to what kind of build I want to run. Whether I want to run a Sword Stance attacker, Calm Mind, I can run a defensive set with things like Toxic, I can run a mixed attacking set, I can run Choice Band, Choice Specs, I can run all sorts of different things. So this mon allows for a lot of variety in its moveset, and thanks to it being a steel typing, it tanks hits from a lot of common threats, such as grass types and other types that are resisted by steel. Also, it gets access to Shadow Sneak, which is a nice priority move that I can use to finish off some weaker mons. Yeah, I just like this mon because it's got nice stats, it's very useful, it has lots of different builds you can run with it, and it's hard to predict, which is one of the main things about this mon, is that there are so many ways that I can use it that it's going to be hard for my opponents to predict how I can use this mon, whether I want to run it special, whether I want to run it physical, whether I run mixed, setup, choice, defensive, all these different sets. So they're gonna have to try and predict, and hopefully I will be able to outshine them. So then the next mon that I added to the team is a mon that will help my Aegislash with its main defensive weaknesses, those being fire and ground. And in order to counter that, I decided to draft Mega Blastoise. So normal Blastoise is already a pretty good defensive Pokemon. It has a lot of defense, it has some nice water and mixture of moves. But now that we have Mega Blastoise, we obviously have more special attack, more defense, more special defense. And thanks to our new ability, Mega Launcher, it gives us extra power and some of our coverage moves like Dark Pulse or Dragon Pulse. This mod is just overall meant to be a sort of team with Aegislash. I feel like a core of these two really help, because if there's something that Aegislash can't handle, like a fire type or a ground type, I can swap to Mega Blastoise. And if there's something Mega Blastoise can't handle, like maybe a grass type, I can swap into Aegislash. It's just these two have a very good synergy together, so I really like drafting both of them. Mega Blastoise is obviously usually going to be a special attacker, but there are chances where I can run a physical attacking set with things like Earthquake, or I can just run Earthquake as a coverage move. There are some bans put in against Mega Blastoise, mainly the main bans being a ban on Shell Smash, which would boost my speed and special attack, and a ban for Terrain Pulse, which doesn't really affect me much because I don't have a mon that can set up terrain, but I get why it was banned, because Terrain Pulse is already strong. It can be multiple types, and then when you add on the boost from Mega Launcher, then that's just even scarier. But I feel like even with those two bans in place, it will still be a very strong mon, and I look forward to having it on the team. So then the third mon I drafted is Tangrowth. So funny story about Tangrowth is that this was originally a Hippowdon that I drafted, but I decided that I needed to trade it in because Hippowdon's main gimmick is that it can use its Sandstream to set up a Sandstorm, but with the mons that I drafted, having a Sandstorm up isn't really that helpful. So I wanted to swap it out, so I decided to swap it out with Tangrowth, who's a different sort of defensive threat. And he's got nice defense, he's got mixed attack stats, which is good. Tangrowth is mainly here to be a big physical wall. It has multiple abilities, like the other two so far. Chlorophyll and Leaf Guard I don't see myself using much because they're based around the sun, and I don't have someone who can set up sun for me. But Regenerator I can definitely make use out of, because every time I swap I get back a third of my health, which is great for a wall like Tangrowth, because walls like to have ways to heal themselves, and Tangrowth does. Not only do we have Regenerator, but we also have the options for Leech Seeds, which heals me each turn that Pokemon's in, and Giga Drain, which is an offensive healing move. Plus we get some nice coverage and moves like Knock Off, Earthquake, Rock Slide. We can use Growth if we want to power up our attack stats. I just really think this mod will be a nice defensive wall. It can kind of help with these two, with my other two, because it covers some checks that we don't have covers to yet, like water types can still kind of wall us, and ground types can still give us coverage, or give us trouble, because Mega Blastoise technically does not resist ground moves, but it's super effective against them. But Tangrowth does resist, and thanks to the defense stat, a lot of Pokemon that want to run Earthquake are going to have a hard time breaking through Tangrowth. So I think he's a good defensive addition to the team. The fourth Pokemon we added is Ribombee. So one of the main reasons that I drafted Ribombee is because of its speed stat. It has a nice solid 124 base speed, which as you can see compared to my other mons is a lot faster. We have Aegislash at 60, Mega Blastoise at 78, and Tangrowth at 50. So having a mon who is almost twice as fast as the rest of my draft is very good. It's a nice fast mon. It's a fairy type, which fairy types are always valuable because they are the best check to dragon types. Another thing about this mon is that it gets sticky webs, which allows me to set up a set of webs, and any Pokemon that comes in on those sticky webs, instantly loses 1 speed, which also helps for my weaker speed mons, like such as these 3. For its abilities, Honey Gather is pretty much useless, but Shield Dust and Sweet Veil each have their own uses, which we can put to use at some point. The main point for this mon is to have something fast. It can set up webs, or I can set up Tailwind to help boost my lower speed tiers. It gets Fairy Stab, which is great for Dragon types. It gets Bug Stab, which is great for Dark and Psychic types. This mod's mainly going to be here to be fast, help support my team, and then pick off any weak opponents once we get closer to the end. Next up we have Solazzle. Solazzle is another boost to my speed tiers, as it has a nice 117 base speed. It's a strong fire type, which every draft needs a strong fire type. It's also a poison type, which is helpful, because that allows me for 100% accurate toxics and allows me a check to fairy types. Also, with its special ability Corrosion, it allows it so that I can poison anything, because normally when you use Toxic, Toxic does not work on other poison types or on steel types. But thanks to Corrosion, I can now poison steel types and other poison types, which is very good for some walls who would normally stop that, like Toxapex or Steelix. But again, I mainly draft this because it has a high speed tier. It's a strong fire and poison type. The big problem with these two is that while they are fast, they are very frail. As you can see, both of them have pretty weak defenses. But there's obviously checks to that. Most of the time I'll be faster, so I don't have to worry about taking too many hits if I can just take them out. Or I can run things like Focus Sashes, so that way I can at least take 1 hit minimum and then go for a hope for a knockout. But yeah, I like these two as an addition to both my speed tiers and to my special offense. So next up, we have a mon who helps my physical offense, and that is Hitmontop. Hitmontop is a nice strong fighting type. It has decent speed at 70, it has good attack, good defenses, and one of the main reasons I drafted this is that because it has Rapid Spin, which can help me get rid of hazards without having to remove my own hazards, which is good. It has 3 abilities, which are each very useful and can be set up to be used in different scenarios. You have Intimidate, which makes it so that every time that I swap in on an opponent, they have their attack lowered, which is great for trying to go in against nice strong physical attackers. I can swap into Hitmontop. I can get an Intimidate off so I can take those physical hits a little bit better. I have Technician, which boosted the power of weaker moves such as Mach Punch or Rapid Spin. So if I ever wanted some extra power on those, I can get them. And finally, I have Steadfast, which may not seem too useful, but I know it can definitely be useful in certain scenarios. What Steadfast does is every time I get flinched, it will give me a boost to my speed stat. I can definitely see myself using this against Pokemon who commonly run Fake Out, like maybe a Mega Lopunny or maybe a Mienshao, because they usually run Fake Out, so I can boost up my speed and then hopefully get the speed advantage against them, which is very good. But yeah, I really like this mon. It's another defensive, it's a good physical attacker to add to the team, and its Rapid Spin and its abilities make it good for support. It's kind of an all-around mon, and I really like that. Next up, we have Unpheasant. This was another trade of mine. This used to be a Tangela, but because I traded in my Hippowdon for a Tangrowth, I didn't really also need Tangela. So I decided I would add Unpheasant to the team. Main reasons, because one, it's a defogger, so it allows me to another option to get hazards off the field. It's a decent flying type, even though I believe it's the worst Rat-Womb bird, it's still a decent flying type, giving me some nice flying coverage for common threats like fighting types or grass types. Also, I didn't realize this until after I drafted it, but it also gives me wish support. which, if you don't know what Wish is, it's basically a move where you set up a wish, and then whatever Pokemon's in that turn after you do the wish, it will allow you to gain health back. So that's good support, especially for Pokemon who can't heal themselves naturally, like Blastoise or Aegislash. Its abilities are kind of meh. Big Pex just prevents my attack from being lowered, which could be good against other Intimidate mons. Super Luck gives me a higher crit chance, which crits allow me to bypass any stat changes, so if I feel like someone's going to run a set where they boost their defense with something like Bulk Up or maybe Curse, I can run Super Luck with moves like Air Cutter and Night Slash, so I can bypass those stat boosts. And then I have Rivalry, which is very hit or miss, because Rivalry either boosts or lowers my damage based on the gender of both myself and my opponent. So that could be very sort of hit or miss depending on what gender I bring, what gender they bring. But for some Pokemon, they're limited to gender. Like for example, my Solazzle can only be female. So if I ever run into a situation like that, I could always run something like a female Unpheasant with Rivalry, so that way I could boost my attack against it. But yeah, I just like this because it's sort of it's a decent speed stat, decent attack, gives me some nice support with things like Defog, Tailwind, Wish support. So yeah, I actually like this mon. Now we have Miltank. Miltank's kind of interesting because it's one of the few fast walls. Most time when you see Pokemon, they'll either be a wall and be slow, or they'll be fast and have little defenses. Miltank's kind of the exception because it has decent defenses and a good, nice 100 speed tier. Its 3 abilities, I can see myself using all 3 because they're all very useful. You have Thick Fat, which reduces the damage I take from fire and ice type moves. You have Scrappy, which makes it so that any normal and fighting type moves coming from me can hit ghost types who are normally immune. And we have Sap Sipper, which makes it so that anytime I get hit by a grass move, I just absorb it and it will raise my attack stat. So I could see myself using all 3 of these abilities for different situations. And Miltank is also very useful because it gives me Stealth Rock support, it can heal itself with Milk Drink, it gets access to strong stab moves like Body Slam. I definitely think that this mon will be one of the mainstays of my team, and it is definitely a mon I can see me bringing almost every week if I want to, just because it has so many different uses, and with its 3 abilities it can be checks to so many different Pokemon. I definitely think this is going to be one of my more used mons. Up next, we have another Pokemon who's here for rock setting, and that is Palo Sand. So originally, this one is actually a couple trades, because I believe originally I had something else here because I had a Hippowdon, but then when I got rid of Hippowdon, I needed another ground type, so I had a Quagsire. But then afterwards, and looking over my team after my trades, I realized I only had one Rock Setter in Miltank. So I decided to drop the Quagsire and pick up Palo Sand instead. So I had another Stealth Rock support. This mon is the slowest mon on my team at base 35, but it also makes up for that for being a nice sort of wall. Ground types are always good to have in league, especially in a league like mine, which has some strong electric types running around, like Zeraora and Tapu Koko. Having a ground type to check those 2 is very good. And thanks to the new DLC, I get access to some new moves, including Scorching Sands, which allows me to keep my ground stab and get burns off, hopefully. So that's very good. Sandveil is not allowed in this league because we don't allow evasion boosting, so I can't use Sandveil, but Water Compaction I can use, which Water Compaction is kind of strange. Basically what it does is it will boost my defense if I get hit by a water move, which can be kind of It could be good, but in most situations it's kind of useless because most water type Pokemon are going to have moves like Scald, which are special. There are some mons who will have physical water moves, like I know someone has a Kabutops who they want to run in Swift Swim. So having a water compaction for that could be good, if I live a hit that is. But I think this mon will definitely be some good rock support. It will have some nice defenses for the team, and it provides a nice ground type, which we desperately need. Up next we have Skunk Tank. So this originally used to be a Seviper, but I changed it to Skunk Tank because I realized I need a dark type. And people before were telling me that I should have just got rid of Seviper because I already had another poison type in Solazzle, but I wanted a second poison type because I know fairy types are very scary in Draft League. So with me having two poison types and a steel type, I know that no matter what fairy type it is, I'll always have some sort of answer to it. But Skunk Tank's definitely a good addition. It's another defogger. It gets access to some nice moves, both stab and coverage. I got access to Sludge Bomb. I got access to Dark Pulse. I got access to Flamethrower. Stench can be useful because it will make it so that all my moves have a chance to flinch, which is mostly there for cheese, and is only really good if I go up against Pokemon who I know will be slower than me. Maybe certain walls, like maybe Clefable. Aftermath is probably the ability I will use most because Aftermath makes it so that any Pokemon that KOs me with a physical hit will take big damage afterwards. So it could be good for weakening down setup mons, so that way I can come in and take them out with a priority move. And then Keen Eye, which won't really be useful because it just makes it so that no one can drop my accuracy. But this mon's definitely, it's another sort of tankish. It doesn't have those tank defense stats, but it has a lot of HP, which is useful. It has a strong attack stat for my dark and psychic, or not psychic, poison moves. And it has some extra coverage to stop mons like steel types from mauling me out. Our second last mon we have on the team is Alolan Raichu. Alolan Raichu is a surprising mon. I've never used this mon before, either in Draft League or in regular playthroughs. But I decided I would pick it up because I needed a good psychic type, plus it's an electric type, which is another type I didn't have. So it adds some good offensive typings to my repertoire. It's the third fastest thing on my team at 110 speed. It's got some nice special attack. It of course gets stab electric moves, stab psychic moves, and also gets a lot of coverage with moves such as Focus Blast, Shadow Ball. I believe it also gets some grass moves, which can be good for ground types. Surge Surfer is an ability I only see myself, my only ability, but it won't make me much use because the only thing Surge Surfer does is boost my speed whenever there's electric terrain up. And I do not have mons who can set up electric terrain, but there are some mons in other teams that can set up electric terrain, like Tapu Koko. So there could be a situation there where I could use the electric terrain to my advantage. But other than that, this is mostly just going to be another fast special attacker to add to the team. I noticed that most of my fast mons are special attackers, which could be my undoing, but I guess we'll see. But yeah, I like this mon. I've never used it before, but from what I've seen from its moveset and from other sort of battles that people showed me, I think this can be a very good mon to the team. And so the last Pokemon I added to the team is Dragonite. So this is actually my tier 1 pick, which is usually for like your best Pokemon. But when I was looking through it, I noticed that most of the time Dragonite gets overlooked in tier 1 because there are other strong dragon types in there, like Garchomp, who's much faster, or Salamence, who's much faster. But I decided to go with Dragonite because he's a very underrated mon in my opinion. I feel like everyone's sort of forgotten about the power of Dragonite. It has nice mixed stats, as you can see. It probably has some of the highest or the most balanced stats on my whole team, having 3 stats in the 100s, 2 stats in the 90s, and then 80 speed. Inner Focus is a move that can prevent flinching. This could be another move that I can use for certain scenarios on mons like Lopunny or Mienshao, like I mentioned before. But the mainstay of this Pokemon is that it has multi-scale. If you don't know what multi-scale is, it's an ability that whenever I'm at full health, it will decrease the damage of whatever move I get hit with. So if I say get hit with a super effective move like another dragon type move or a fairy type move or even a quad weak ice move, there's always a chance that I will be able to live it thanks to multi-scale. And because of Dragonite's mixed stats, I can run a lot of different sets with it, kind of like other mons who I mentioned. But Dragonite's an exception because it has tons of coverage. Not only does it get dragon and flying moves, it also gets moves like Fire Blast, Thunder, it gets access to Earthquake. Thanks to DLC, it just gave me access to moves like Body Press and Hydro Pump. And I can see myself running this a lot of different ways. I could run it as a special or physical sweeper. I can run it as a defensive mon with Roost and multi-scale. I can use it as a setup mon with moves like Dragon Dance. Yeah, I think personally this is just an overrated, an overlooked dragon. I think that more people should use Dragonite, and hopefully by me using Dragonite here, it will show people Dragonite's worth. So that is the entirety of my draft. I will run through it one more time, just a refresher. So I have Aegislash, Mega Blastoise, Tangrowth, Ribombee, Solazzle, Hitmontop, Unpheasant, Miltank, Palo Sand, Skunk Tank, Alolan Raichu, and Dragonite. These are the 12 mons I'm going to be doing on my team. And so now that our drafting period is over, each week we'll be doing a different battle for the next 10 weeks, I believe. Or is it 12 weeks? No, it's 10 weeks. So you'll have 10 weeks of battles, which means that each week you should be seeing a new video from me. And that's all I have to say in this video. So how I plan on doing my videos in the future for each of the weeks is that it'll kind of be almost a 2-part video, where the first part will be me showing you what the team is I built, what they're meant to do, and what my plans for them are, and then the second part will be the actual battles themselves. I might see if I can do sort of an interview period after, where after each battle I can talk to the person who I versed and sort of talk about the matchup itself. But I don't know, I haven't decided on that yet. But anyways, if you stuck around all the way, thank you so much for tuning in. And I will see you for our first week of battles, where we go up against Angular Penny and the Los Angeles Absols. But until next week, I will see you all around, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your day. Goodbye.